From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
It's a tragedy that has stunned people across the country. We have reaction after the devastating news of a plane crash that happened just under the Montana border.
The investigation into the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump continues today in Washington. I'm Leah Mishkin with the troubling new timeline we're learning about from a series of police text messages.
I'm Jonathan Ambarian at the state capitol, where Montana lawmakers got a closer look at the recommendations from a state commission tasked with reimagining the state's behavioral health system.
I'm Edgar Cedillo on Montana State University's campus. Coming up, I'll take you and have a look inside at Bozeman's Fire Station 2, which is set to open up in a few weeks.
Alrighty, it is 6 o'clock on this Tuesday morning. Jane McDonald and Matt Ello, and we have a beautiful view of the Montana State campus right now. Lots of activity.
It's nice. Last night I could not see from my house any mountains. It was all smoke. This morning we are already seeing at least some clearing. Still air quality is suffering a little bit, but I think the positives, it should be getting better throughout the day today. Temperatures this morning, mix of 50s and 60s, 39 in West Yellowstone. So that's our cool spot. I don't think that comes as a huge shock to anybody. Spotty shower activity through the noon hour, especially west of the Continental Divide. We get into the afternoon, a few hit and miss thunder showers. We may not see a lot of heavy rain, but there will be some pockets of heavier downpours. We could use every single drop this time of year. Temperatures only into the 70s today in Bozeman. Afternoon showers for Butte happening a little earlier in the day, but cool temperatures expected. I'm going to talk more about the timing and expectations you should have coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you very much, Matt. Now our top story this half hour, a plane crash 8 miles south of the Montana border near Gillette, Wyoming, that killed all 7 aboard, including 3 members of the popular gospel group, the Nellens. It's a tragedy that has stunned people across the country. MTN's Haley Monaco reports from Billings.
The plane that crashed in Wyoming, just 8 miles south of the Montana border, was heading here to Billings on the way to Seattle. There were no survivors, and 3 of the passengers were members of the popular Southern gospel band, the Nellens. Music for the soul.
I think in a lot of ways that music and worship, it gets our hearts aligned with the Lord's will, and it gives even what we're working through a voice.
The award-winning gospel band and family, the Nellens, tragically lost 3 of their 4 members Friday afternoon when their plane went down in northern Wyoming.
The world's going to miss the music and the ministry.
Over the years, the gospel group made music at Daywind Records in Tennessee, getting to know the label's president, Ed Leonard.
You don't expect, a group that's really in its prime to have something like this happen.
They were on their way to Seattle to embark on a Christian gospel music cruise, stopping in Nebraska to refuel before heading to Billings. The National Transportation Safety Board now says the single-engine plane may have had an autopilot malfunction, plummeting from 26,000 feet.
Certainly sad and heartbroken for the family, and what a tragic loss.
Paul McClintock is the lead pastor at Faith E Church here in Billings. While he hadn't heard of the Nellens until the crash last Friday, he knows the toll it's likely taking on faith communities across the country. All 7 people died in the crash, including Jason and Kelly Nealon Clark, Amber Nealon Kistler, her husband, their assistant, and the pilot and his wife. A devastating loss that's left thousands across the nation grieving.
And for those of us who are followers of Jesus, we know that this world is not the end. So yes, we still grieve because it's around us, but we grieve with hope.
A hope that they will meet again. In Billings, Haley Monaco, MTN News.
Now on the national scene, new U.S. Secret Service Acting Director Ronald Rowe will face tough questions from a Senate committee today over the July 13th assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. According to excerpts of his testimony obtained by CBS News, he's expected to tell lawmakers that he cannot defend why the roof where the gunman opened fire was not secure. CBS News' Leah Mishkin has more from London.
Barely a week into the job, Acting Secret Service Director Ronald Rowe will take the hot seat on Capitol Hill. According to excerpts obtained by CBS News, Rowe will say he visited the site of the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump, and that, quote, "what I saw made me ashamed." He's also expected to say that he's directed his agency to, quote, "ensure every event site security plan is thoroughly vetted by multiple experienced supervisors before it's implemented." Today's hearing comes as newly released police text messages show that officers were aware of the gunman, Thomas Crooks, at least 105 minutes before he opened fire. That's more than 30 minutes earlier than previously reported.
There were multiple opportunities for this individual to be encountered by law enforcement.
At 4:27 p.m., one counter sniper texted his colleagues that the shooter knows you guys are up there, referring to the building he just left. At 5:38 p.m. in a different group chat, an officer sent a picture of Crooks and says, "I did see him with a rangefinder looking towards the stage." That officer spoke to ABC News yesterday.
I assumed that there would be somebody coming out to speak with this individual.
But 33 minutes later, the shooter still had a clear line of sight of the stage when he shot at Trump. The local SWAT team says they never spoke to Secret Service until after the assassination attempt.
There should have been communication with the local police, which there wasn't, so that's a bad thing.
The FBI says Trump has agreed to sit down for a victim interview to describe what he saw that day. Leah Mishkin, CBS News.
And former President Trump says that FBI interview will take place on Thursday. Meanwhile, a U.S. House panel has launched its own probe into the assassination attempt with subpoena power. Now, back a little bit closer to home, residents remain on edge once again as a new fire sparks over near Big Timber. The Diamond Fire, just northeast of Gray Cliff Mill, can be seen from Interstate 90 and has now burned over 400 acres. MTN's Isabel Sparks has spoken to some residents earlier this week. We're going to try to get that video.
Another wildfire broke out Saturday night on Hobble Diamond Ranch near Reed Point and comes just 2 weeks after a similar one broke out in the area. Residents are concerned, but the community efforts to help fight the fire are nonstop.
It's absolutely breathtaking in the worst kind of way.
This was the scene just 2 weeks ago on July 16th on Hobble Diamond Ranch. Also known as the Shank Basin Fire, that fire roared quickly to 325 acres. And now Saturday night, another fire, worrying those living in the area.
Lots of fires, one after another, dry lightning, seems like every night. Storm.
It's heartbreaking. I mean, you've got wildlife, you've got stock, you've got people's livelihoods, something that they've worked on for generations. That's all at risk of being gone.
This fire started with lightning, and residents say it started burning southwest of the first fire, blowing towards the site of the old burn. Now, they're hoping it'll reach that point and stop.
Our country won't survive without our firefighters. We need them.
As fire season is currently taking a toll, volunteers in the town of Reed Point are making sure those fighting the fires stay fed and energized.
They had meat sandwiches, lots of apples and granola bars, water, Gatorades, things like that all went up this morning.
Many gathered at the Waterhole Saloon to put meals and snacks together, much like the first time.
We had older folks, little children out helping, so it was just a combination of a lot of folks here in the community.
Then more volunteers brought more food for later.
If our firefighters can have the food and energy to get the fires put out, then that's what's important.
As the fire continues to burn, the community, while still jolted from previous fires, still answers the call to help.
When tragedy strikes, whether it be wildfires or the flood, everybody puts their differences aside, comes together to make sure to keep the community and its residents safe.
In Reed Point, Isabel Sparks, MTN News.
And a state commission introduced its initial recommendations for investing millions of dollars into Montana's behavioral health system earlier this year. And now they're getting lawmakers' input before putting the final touches on that report. MTN senior political reporter Jonathan Amberian was there as they presented those ideas.
The Behavioral Health System for Future Generations Commission has been thinking about and working on its recommendations for months. But eventually it'll be up to the full Montana legislature to decide on long-term funding for many of these recommendations. On Tuesday, commission members began making their case to lawmakers on why these recommendations are so important.
I hit the road and started communicating with people. I was overwhelmed with the hope that families expressed to me.
The state set aside $300 million during the last legislative session and tasked the commission with suggesting ways to invest it into strengthening services for mental health and substance abuse. At a meeting with several legislative interim committees, the commission presented 22 draft recommendations. From expanding crisis response services and improving case management, to restructuring payment models for providers and providing training to prepare workers for these jobs. Altogether, the recommendations would require more than $100 million from the special account created last year, but millions more in ongoing state funding. Leaders will be looking to put them in order of priorities, and it's likely only some of them will come forward for consideration next year.
We want to ensure we're good stewards of these funds and leave a healthy balance to ensure if some projects ultimately cost more than we project or another need arises for these use of funds, that there is funding remaining to be available.
Commission members said while these are big investments, these projections aren't taking into account ways they could avert the need for more expensive care later on. And they said the impacts are much more than just money.
It will also save lives. This is beyond a dynamic fiscal note. It is the facts.
The commission is set to have its next meeting on August 8th, where they'll focus on prioritizing the recommendations. And Representative Bob Keenan, the commission's chair, says they'll likely have one more meeting to finalize their report before sending it to Governor Greg Gianforte. In Helena, Jonathan Amberian, MTN News.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. Now, back in 2021, Bozeman voters approved a $6.7 million bond to fund and relocate Fire Station 2. MTN's Edgar Cedillo takes us inside that new station in its new location.
As you drive along Kagi Boulevard, you can definitely see and hear the hustle and bustle that's been coming with all the growth on Bozeman's south side. One of those signs of the growth is Bozeman's new Fire Station 2, which is set to open up soon on Montana State University's campus.
We just want to make sure that we're prepared for the next 30 to 40 years and not build something that just solves today's problems.
Construction is wrapping up on the new 13,000 square foot Fire Station 2, which will replace the aging and outgrown Fire Station 2 on South 19th.
Not having to navigate in and out off of 19th, the congestion that we see today, plus moving the station a little bit east, which gives us better access to South Wilson, South 3rd, the hospital.
Bozeman Fire Chief Josh Waldo says that the new location, being across the street from Bobcat Stadium, has other benefits.
Whether we're talking about large events such as football games, concerts, etc., even in just day-to-day operations of keeping the campus safe, we're excited to be here.
The new fire station is also built to accommodate the future expansion of Kagi Boulevard.
So as we designed this station, we took in parts of the Kagi expansion. We looked at what could happen, what the possibilities.
4 firefighters will work at Fire Station 2 when it opens. Waldo says that if the first responder levy passes in November, it would also add 2 firefighters.
And we would put what we're calling a quick response unit, would be a pickup truck. Have all the medical supplies, a lot of the fire equipment that we need. This station will not be full day one, and we don't want it to be full day one. This station's got to serve this community for 50 years plus, so we've got a little bit of room for growth in there as things continue to change in our community.
Now, Chief Waldo says that he hopes to have the new Fire Station 2 opened up sometime by late August, with a ribbon cutting ceremony for early September. Once this new Fire Station 2 opens up, the city will then sell the old Fire Station 2. In Bozeman, Edgar Cedillo, MTN News.
Whew, a lot of construction going on the Montana State campus.
Yes, it is busy for sure.
Definitely. Well, I am glad, though, to hear that fire station, ribbon cutting will be sometime early September, so hopefully a lot of the moving and shaking will be done before the Bobcats arrive. Now, before we get into a break, Matt, this story, it's just for you because I know how much of a Taylor Swift fan you are. We are going to be heading over to the Kansas City Chiefs, taking a little peek at that. What you're seeing right there, that is Travis Kelce, of course, Taylor Swift's
training
boyfriend.
camp going on in St. Joseph, Missouri.
And he decided to throw his gloves to a pretty special young fan. That fan had on a Taylor Swift themed Chiefs
That's
shirt.
awesome.
I mean, just a way to brighten her day for coming out to the training camp over in St. Joseph, Missouri.
That's great.
So pretty special. And I mean, the family was just so ecstatic. I mean,
I'm sure.
They tweeted about it. They posted this video. I mean,
You got the belt going. That's good.
Incredible is that? It just brings a smile to anyone's face.
Hey, I love the fact that he's hanging out with the fans and giving them what they want.
Absolutely. I think it's a really cool idea. Getting the whole family involved, too,
That's
from the
right.
young kids all the way to the adults. Now, time for that quick break. When we come back, though, well, tens of thousands were out of power and thousands of downed trees over in Missoula. When we come back, an exclusive interview with Northwestern Energy about the work still going on to bring Missoula back from that devastating storm 1 week ago.